Hey there, race fans. It's Race 8 Top 5 with me, Frank 5. A wild finish in Richmond with the drama making the playoffs, the drama to get momentum leading up to the playoffs, and one driver who wasn't in a pressure pack situation that was already in and wanted to build momentum got the job done in a wild, wild race. Number one, Kyle Larson, for the first time in his career, went on a track that is not a 2-mile track. Examples, California and Michigan, won his first short track race of his Monster Energy Cup Series career at the Federated Auto Sports 400 at Richmond Raceway last night. Larson was basically a top 5 car most of the night, but not the dominant car of the night. But sometimes, when you're lucky, you're lucky. And last night, Kyle Larson, the last pit stop of the race, when a late race caution came out that set up that overtime finish, he was lucky and won the race off pit road and was able to hold off everybody else and all the craziness going on behind him. Last lap crashes, tires rubbing, sheet metal dragging, and still pressure for some of those guys that had to try to win to get in. But Larson was able to capitalize ahead of everybody, ahead of Joey Logano, Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, and Daniel Suarez in a wild finish. Number 2, Chase Elliott finished 10th and we clinched a spot in the playoffs on points, and I couldn't be happier. And I was a little bit worried about this race, believe it or not, folks, because Chase Elliott has never had a top 10 finish here. He has an Xfinity win, but that's Xfinity. He's best finish he had up until last night in the Cup Series was 12th, but we were in our first career top 10, and we were up front a lot in most of the race. Ran the top 5, lost our track position, but we were able to benefit from all the last lap craziness and finished 10th. So good run, and now we're ready for the playoffs and ready for Chicago next week, where we almost won that race last year until a late race caution came out. Time for a little redemption on our side. Number 3, Martin Truex Jr. was the best car all night long. Dominated the race like we've seen every single time. He was coming into the race 0 for 70 on short tracks, meaning he hasn't won in a short track. He's won basically on the 1.5 miles or other bigger racetracks. And he was in position to do it last night until that late race caution with Derek Cope slow on the track caused everybody to come to pit road. He didn't beat Kyle Larson off the pits. And the last lap he got knocked in the wall by Denny Hamlin and was pretty upset about that. He was more upset with Derek Cope being out there. He's like, why is a slow car out there? Why even bother running out there if you're that slow? Why not just park it? Well, you know, Martin, you can't always win them all, but fortunately for you, you won the regular season championship and you have 53 playoff points going into the playoffs, which probably absolutely guarantees you past the round of 16, probably the round of 12, especially with Talladega in there. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see if you can accumulate any more playoff points in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure he will. Number 4, the bubble guys, the guys that had to win to get in. They knew what they needed to do, and the highest of them at the end of the race was Joey Logano in second, but unfortunately, he's on the playoffs, and people are thinking, oh, why not? Well, if you all remember, he did win it this year at Richmond, but it was encumbered, or as people like to say around the United States, cucumbered, because of a rear-end suspension failure and wasn't met the measurements. So he got the win encumbered, and since then it just went downhill from him. He just struggled and struggled and struggled. But last night he actually had a car that was capable of getting the job done, but just not enough at the end. If Larson and Truex and Hamlin were collided together in turn 1 and Joey got by them all, then he would have won and he would have made the playoffs. Just a possibility if that all happened, but it didn't, and Joey won't be in the playoffs, but there's always next year for the Uganda fans. Dale Earnhardt Jr., not going to be in the playoffs, but last night he ran the best I've seen him run since Texas this season. He ran top 5, top 10 all night long and had a chance to win at some point. Stayed out on some strategy. Just didn't benefit him. Finished 13th, but he's happy about the way they executed this week without Greg Gotts, who's suspended due to the lug nuts not being properly installed at Darlington. So there's hope for Junior yet. He's got Talladega left, and you've got Homestead left to try and win those races. So hope he wins. And Eric Jones, obviously he knew coming in, this is one of his best tracks that he could possibly win at. But just not enough. 6th place finish, not enough for him, but they're always next year, especially considering you're going to be driving the 20 car next year. And number 5, the biggest controversy of the night, other than kind of like the finish, from Martin Truex's side, was an incident on pit road, and it involved an ambulance being in the way. So people were coming to pit road after a caution that came out, and there was an ambulance in the way. And they all had to go around to check up and avoid it, and Matt Kenseth hit the back of Clint Boyer, damaged the oil cooler, and he had to go to the garage, and there was a possibility, if we got a first-time winner, Kenseth was going to be out of the playoffs. Luckily that didn't happen, and he's lucky he got in. But there's a little bit of confusion, I think, between NASCAR and the ambulance. Should the ambulance have just come into the pits knowing that everybody was going to be coming in soon, or should have NASCAR said, well, let's add one more lap and it's just so we can get the ambulance, take care of everything, and then get off the track. I think a little bad officiating on both sides. They should have put the ambulance in the garage before they came down pit road, or NASCAR should have added another lap before they let them come to pit road, knowing an ambulance was in the way. So, Scott Miller, was a little bit confused about it too, the vice president of the director of communications in that race. So, we'll find out this week. So coming up this coming weekend is the first race of the playoffs, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 400 at Chicagoland Speedway, and only 12 guys at the end of Dover will move on to the championship still, with 4 guys left in the dust. Who will they be? Tune in these next 3 weeks to find out who they're going to be. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like. Congrats to Larson, congrats to the 16 men that are in the playoffs. I will do a little bit of a video, I think, on Friday to talk about my predictions for the playoffs and who's going to advance, who won't. I hope you all enjoy your nice Sunday afternoon. Enjoy football day in America, and I'll see you Friday.